All right, back on the Young Turks. We have, as I look through the rundown today, we actually have a decent number of good news. We also have some dumbass Democrats, but those are fun stories too. And you know what? In the post game today, we're going to do our usual stories, etc. But we're also going to do an interview, which almost never happens. So if you remember, post game, it's going crazy today. You know who it is? It's Maria Mayer. She's a former Miami Dolphins cheerleader, but she's now an anthropologist. Cheerleader turned anthropologist. Smart and beautiful. Membership has its privileges. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying. All right. Now, let's go on with more of the good news. So we were talking about healthcare a little bit. And there's an Associated Press story out about how the Republicans are beginning to backpedal a little bit on, we're going to repeal it, we're going to rip its guts out, right? Okay. Turns out they might not release the Kraken after all. They're looking at some of the poll numbers, and they're seeing how the people are reacting, and they're playing out the politics of it a little bit and saying, is this really going to play well when we go to the elections? Because the Democrats are unusually strong on this. Like Menendez, who's the senator from New Jersey, Democrat, saying, yeah, come on. You want to do it? How about it, Hoss? Bring it. Come on, run the ad about how you're going to repeal it. Because I already got you on the record. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run an ad against it. Saying, oh, you know what? Senator XYZ says that he'd like to make sure that you're not covered if you have a pre-existing condition. And he'd like to bring back rescission, where they don't let you get covered even if you've been paying your bills. Is that what you want? So, Democrats running those kind of ads, that's unusually ballsy, but that's what he's threatening to do. So he's like, I love the attitude. I was blown away by Menendez's strength on it. He's like, no, dude, I got you on the record. I'm begging you to run your ads. I'm begging you to run your campaign on, I'm going to repeal health care, because there's an ass-kicking coming your way. I'm like, all right, look at this. Okay, Menendez, take out a whooping stick. Let's see what you can do. Should he do it? Should he
release the Kraken?
Okay, all right. So, and then you got, by the way, Associated Press talked to some Republicans, and they're like, yeah, maybe, then maybe not. Okay, all right, a little backpedal. I like that. Now, a little bit of a dispute about financial reform today. There always is, but Krugman is in a little bit of a debate with Simon Johnson, among other people, Paul Volcker. So different progressives with different ideas on what's most important. And normally, I almost always agree with Simon Johnson. And I'm not saying he's wrong here. I think his priorities are also very important. But I'm a little bit more on Krugman's camp here. He says, look, the size of the banks isn't as important as the risk that they're taking and the leverage that they're allowed to have. And I totally agree with that. See, remember, there's a lot of problems in finance. And, a lot of times when I tell you this, I kind of feel guilty getting into all the details and at the risk of boring you and pulling a Greenberg, right? And giving you all the repo this and the CDO that. But it's so damn important because this is the one thing that could really just crater the economy, as I've been saying. So Krugman says, look, the banks can be really, really large or really small. If they're all interconnected, they could still drag the whole system down. The question isn't how large the bank is. And that's not entirely true. Of course, their size matters a good deal. But he's right that what matters more is, can they take a 10-on-1 risk or a 100-on-1 risk? What I mean by that is, they got $1 in the bank. Can they make $10 worth of bets or $100 worth of bets? Because if they make $10 worth of bets, well, we can live with that because that's the kind of risk that if things go wrong, you can recover, right? If they make $100 worth of bets with only $1 in the bank, you will not recover. It will crater, right? And what I find amazing is that this whole leverage situation has not only not been addressed by reform, which is not surprising, but I haven't really seen it effectively brought up at all. It's not in any of the reform packages. Maybe I'm misreading it, but that's part of the reason why I'm scared to death that we're headed for another disaster. That should be the first thing on the list. Krugman has the priorities right. You should say, hey, no one gets the leverage, especially if they're taking They're backed up by the United States government, and they have consumer money in there backed up by the FDIC. No one is allowed to leverage anything more than 10 to 1. Look, if you listen to Ron Paul's on the extreme other end of this. Ron Paul says, what do you mean leverage? There should be no leverage. You could make $1 worth of bets if you got $1 in your pocket. That's it. Okay. That'll create our economy in reverse. Because then, the engine of growth is being able to invest and to lend and to borrow, etc. If you go with the Ron Paul strategy and no one can invest, man, that economy is going to come, boom, crashing into a brick wall. You have to be somewhere in the middle. And unfortunately, right now, we're not in the middle. Ron Paul's suggestion is out in, so far off, it's on Venus, right? But right now, we got leverages up the gazoo, and nobody even knows how high the banks are leveraged because it's all secret. Don't get me started. Okay, stop it, okay? You're going to get me started, and then I'm going to talk to you about how Armageddon's coming again. Okay, and then my one final thing on the financial reform, there's bank taxes getting popular. The bank tax is a good thing. It says there's actually two different kinds of taxes. One is a financial transactions tax, which we've talked about before. You charge an incredibly small percentage per trade that limits the number of trades, and it raises a lot of money for the government. Can you go ahead and guess the one guy fighting against that as Europe and the rest of the international community starts to get behind that idea? If you guessed Tim Geithner, of course you guessed correctly. The second bank tax, actually the Obama administration is backing, which is, and it's much weaker than the European version, etc. But if you make a certain amount of bonus, if you're in the financial industry, that extra bonus, for example, a bonus of above $50,000. For every dollar above $50,000, we're going to take 50% back. Now, you did get taxed at 39% anyway, or not quite, but in the high 30s. So instead, they get taxed 50% above $50,000 bonus. It's not much, right? But at least it's a start. You want to guess who's fighting against that? I don't even have to say it, right? So let's move on. Okay, so now healthcare. Back to that, and Fox Business has a fantastic poll out about healthcare. It's amusing to everybody. So they're fair and balanced, right? Following the footsteps of the mother station, Fox News. So Fox Business had a business poll on their website. Here are the three choices on what they thought of the healthcare bill, or what they allow you to check off. Will passage of the healthcare reform bill impact your vote in the midterm elections? Good question. Here are your choices. No, I'm more concerned about other issues. In other words, I don't like it, but I'm more concerned about other issues. B, yes, the healthcare requirements are too expensive and intrusive. And C, ask me in November. There is no D, yes, it will affect my vote positively. I really liked it. Now, when they did the last poll, not Fox, but a real poll, they found that 49% of Americans say that they like the healthcare reform package that passed, and it's likely to make them vote for Democrats. So, and that was a big swing, and now the momentum is on that side. In the Fox Business poll, you're not even allowed to answer that. So, unsurprisingly, with their audience, it turns out 73% thought it was too expensive and intrusive. Who could have guessed? It's not like they had another choice. I mean, that right there is the perfect symbolism for what Fox does. They limit the amount of choices that their audience has. You either don't like Obama or you hate him. And then in that environment, the Fox News viewers, or in this case, Fox Business, I'm going to go with hate him. Is that right? Oh, okay, good. Beck and O'Reilly tell me that's right. Okay. Actually, to be fair to O'Reilly, he would say don't like him. Beck would say hate him. All right. Now, speaking of Beck and not liking Obama, we get to the Tea Party, guys. A couple of funny stories about the Tea Party folks. One is a survey. And, you know, this survey's, I think, been a little misrepresented in the press. They say that it shows that Tea Party guys are old, conservative, and don't like Obama. Okay? And it just kind of paints them in a very, very negative light. But, you know, when you look at the actual numbers as I did, Yes, they're a little older. Are they conservative? Absolutely. I mean, who's surprised by that? The only thing I was surprised by is that that 8% of them are liberals. They call themselves liberals. 8%, really? I think you're at the wrong party, dude. But anyway, but they don't. When you look at the numbers of how much income they have, they don't look particularly poor by the brackets. They don't even particularly look that old, to be honest with you. And I don't see anything relating to hating Obama. I mean, they might, but I don't think it was really in the poll. Okay. Now, I did find a couple of interesting things in the poll, though. And one is 47% of them get their primary news source is, of course, Fox News Channel. So, like, when they say, oh, no, the Tea Party guys are real people in America, and of course they're real. I mean, they're not imaginary people, right? But are they getting riled up by Fox News, or is Fox News just reporting what happened? No, of course they're getting riled up by Fox News. That's nearly half of them who say that the only news they watch is Fox News. So, I mean, these things are a little obvious. But here's the one that really blew me away. The Bush tax cuts are set to expire for people making over $250,000. So those are the richest Americans. Those tax cuts are going to expire. Now, if you look at the numbers behind the poll, the people who go to the Tea Party, of course, an overwhelming majority of them do not make $250,000, right? Only a tiny, tiny fraction make over that. So, but when they ask them, when the Bush tax cuts expire, do you think your taxes will go up? 82% of them thought their taxes are going up. They are grossly misled. And they're purposely misled. By who? The people that they're getting their news from. Fox News. Fox News is saying, oh my God, taxes are going up, taxes are going up. No, they're not going up for you. For people under $250,000, they're not going up at all. No, they're going up for the really rich people who run Fox News, who want to get you angry and think that your taxes are going to go up. And mission accomplished. 82% of the Tea Party guys think, oh my God, they're taking my money. When in reality, they're getting tax cuts from Obama. I mean, when you look at the reality of it and what they think, it's a little sad. You know, it's just, you know, I made this comparison in a blog I wrote today. They remind me a little of Lenny of Mice and Men. You know, like, oh, pretty bunny, pretty bunny. And then if you whisper the wrong thing in Lenny's ear, it's like, crack. What? Yeah. Lenny's easy to mislead. So you got this big lumbering, okay, let's not say dumb, let's say ignorant, because they're literally ignorant of the facts. Ignorant, you know, protest. And as Steve Cohen said on our show yesterday, the congressman from Tennessee, they're getting prodded and incited into going down even a more physical and even violent path, throwing the bricks through the windows. It happened in Tennessee. It happened all over the country. Cutting the gas line to Congressman Perriello's brother's house in Virginia. The fake anthrax sent to Congressman Weiner's office. The death threats sent to so many people. I mean, you're getting Lenny all worked up. And the Becks and the Rush Limbaughs are like, oh, Lenny, they're coming to get you. They're going to take your money. They're going to take this. They're going to hurt you. They're going to hurt your family. They're going to hurt your country. Here's a bunch of bunnies. Go. And then Lenny's like, crack, crack, crack. And they're like, oh, what? I didn't know. Oh, really? Lenny did that? I didn't do it. Lenny did it. Oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. And that's what I see, unfortunately, with this Tea Party, guys. Let's hope it doesn't go in that direction. But one thing we're positive of is that they are definitely misled. All right, now, a funny little thing related to their income is a story out of the New York Times. You know, of course, so many of them. Now, this is, look, it's a funny story. It's also a little unfair because they went and talked to a bunch of Tea Party guys. I don't know if they weeded out the people that didn't have interesting stories, and they don't give you overall numbers. It's not a poll number, so it's not necessarily indicative. But the guys they talked to and put in the paper, almost all of them rely on government. Okay, so for example, Tom Grimes was really worked up and a Tea Party activist. Not only does he rely on the government, just 15 months ago he lost his job and he called his Democratic congressman to get government health care. Right? But he will attend rallies against government health care. I mean, like, these are now so commonplace that you're almost like, yeah, I know. But they have like 3 or 4 of these instances. They have Miss Reimer, who is one of these main organizers. She's also out of a job, and since she didn't have a job, and the thrust of the story is that, ironically, since so many of them are unemployed, it gives them more time to organize Tea Party protests, so they can continue to get unemployed and have the Republicans at the same exact time. That was not in the story, but of course we know the Republicans at the same time in Congress trying to deny them unemployment benefits, right? So she is receiving government benefits of Medicare and Social Security, and she says, I just don't trust this government. And I found this to be the critical word in that sentence. I don't trust this government. Like, she wasn't organizing protests when Bush was president. She trusted that government. But this government she got some issues with, even though she collects almost all of her checks from the government. I mean, the irony knows no bounds, of course. And Jeff McQueen, he's 50, and he blames the government for his unemployment, of course. Government is absolutely responsible, not because of what they did recently with the car companies, but what they've done since the 1980s. Now, what the government has, of course, done since the 1980s is deregulate and cut taxes for the rich. That has been the 2 primary things that Reagan pushed and succeeded at, part of what caused the economic collapse. But ironically, of course, as usual, they've got the Tea Party people thinking, no, the government was too active since the 1980s and did what? Gave you too many checks? But somehow they believe, no, I'm out of a job because of the government. And he says, the article says here, he and the others do not see any contradictions in their arguments for smaller government, even as they argue that it should do more to prevent job loss or cuts to Medicare. It's a really good point. Putting aside the fairness of the article, and I don't know, if there are other people who are more consistent in the Tea Party movement. But for these guys, for them to miss that irony altogether. God damn it, the government should get me a job! And there's too much government. So, wait a minute, which one is it? Give me my Medicare! Get out of my life! And finally, back to Mr. Grimes. For his part, the article says, he's thinking of getting a part-time job with the Census Bureau. Well, I thought the census was evil. I mean, it's irony on top of irony, okay? So, they're being led in a certain direction, and it is not a good direction, and it's certainly not an informed direction. All right. Having said that, let's come back. Let's do some goofiness from the Democrats. I still got more goofiness from Republicans, but some Democrats saying things they should not have said when we return on the Young Turks.
TYT, yeah, Turks. TYT, TYT.
Breaking news! It turns out Harold Penn might be leaving the White House. Oh my God. Of Harold and Kumar fame, guess what he's going to leave for? To do Harold and Kumar Part 3. To which I say, of course he is. You know what his job was at the White House, if you don't remember this? He was Associate Director of the White House Office of Public Engagement, otherwise known as Snoozefest, right? When he went in there in the beginning of the term of Obama's first term, obviously, I was like, really? You're going to go and be an Associate Director of Bore Me to Death? And you're a Hollywood celebrity to some degree? So, yeah, of course he was going to leave. Of course he was. You know what would have prompted him to leave after a year of doing this boring job? Anything. He would have left for like a made-for-TV movie, for a spot on a sitcom, for a guest host on a sitcom, for an ad. Okay, look, I'm being a dick. But look, I thought the minute he went in there, there's no way he's going to have the patience to what? Go the whole term? 4 years as Associate Director of Bore Me to Death? No. And again, I'm being a jerk because it's important, la la la, doing outreach, blah, blah, blah. I mean, come on, who cares? So, well, you know what? They'll give it to a guy who actually probably would be thrilled to get that job, and the world will make sense again. All right. When asked about it, of course, they put out an official statement. His real name is Kalpen Modi, right? Mr. Modi is honored to serve in this administration and has no announcements to make about his tenure here at this point. At this point. Meaning, after the weekend, he'll announce, Harold and Kumar, Part 3 rocks! All right. So now you know. Now, I promised you a little bit of crazy Republicans in this hour. It's usually awfully easy to deliver, so we will. One of them is Michelle Bachmann. Go on. You want to talk about easy? Okay. We'll get to her next. First, we start with a man who's been hired to be one of the commentators for CNN. His name is Eric Erickson. He's with this fairly well-known blog on the conservative side known as Red State. He's made a number of controversial comments that we covered on the show in respect to, the regular political dealings. I found them controversial substantively because he's the one that keeps pushing the Republicans to go further and further and further right, and no one is, conservative enough for him. John Cornyn's a liberal from Texas. Okay, Bob Bennett from Utah is far too progressive. Okay, so I think he's crazy, and I think he's hurting the Republican Party tremendously. So have at it, Hoss, right? Now, some people are mad that he got on CNN for some of the really controversial comments that he's made. Okay, so what are those? And then I'll tell you whether I think it makes sense for CNN to hire him or not. First of all, he's got an issue with Obama winning the Nobel Peace Prize. He had written, quote, "I did not realize the Nobel Peace Prize had an affirmative action quota for it." Right, of course. If a white person wins it, well, they, of course, deserved it. If a black person wins it, affirmative action. Is there anything they won't call affirmative action? Anything at all? Okay, so that's what we're just getting warmed up. Now, he saves the primary burst of his anger towards feminists, or as he would call them, feminazis. So here are some of the things that he said about the Tim Tebow ad. Remember the Focus on the Family ad during the Super Bowl? So he tweets out, quote, "That's it? That's what the feminazis were enraged over? Seriously? Wow. That was being too ugly to get a date. That's what being too ugly to get a date does to your brain." Ba-dum-bum, I guess. So the feminists are ugly, and that's why it hurt their brain. And okay, so then he goes on the same topic. "Thus ends the credibility of all pro-abortion groups. Thanks, Mrs. Tebow, for that. Ugly feminists return to their kitchens." I mean, if you're a woman out there, I mean, okay, so Eric Erickson, where do you think he thinks you belong? All right, now no, only the ugly feminists. If you're beautiful, you can step outside the kitchen. Or if you're a right-winger, you can step outside and do what? Anyway, but he's not done yet. And the next day, continuing on feminists, quote, "Turned on Twitter today and there was a barrage of angry feminists upset with me telling them to get in the kitchen and learn to cook." Okay, so it doesn't seem like he's really unrepentant. He does seem like he's unrepentant on that. He continues, "Good thing I didn't suggest to feminists, shave. They'd be at my house trying to do a post-birth abortion on me." Okay, great. So that's his views on feminists. But we're not done yet because he's actually not gotten the worst of it. Then here's his views on Michelle Obama. He has called her Barack's, quote, "Marxist harpy wife." Okay, so she's harpy and a Marxist. Really, Michelle Obama, a Marxist? I didn't see that, but maybe he's got some information we don't. If you think all of that is bad, let's finally get to Supreme Court Justice David Souter. He called him a, quote, "the only goat effing child molester to ever serve on the Supreme Court." Yeah. And now, congratulations, you have a CNN job. Let me say that again. The only goat effing child molester on the Supreme Court. So, now, when asked about this, hey, why did CNN hire this guy who's made these controversial comments, et cetera, et cetera? Of course, Eric Erickson, finally, now that his job is on the line, is in full backpedal. He said, well, before when I was writing and blogging, I thought only my friends were seeing it, and Oh, come on, dude. You're on one of the largest conservative blogs, okay? And blogs are public? I got hired as one of the most prominent bloggers by CNN. Turns out more than my friends are reading my blog. I didn't know that. And he's like, and I've had a lot of growing up to do. But he did say he regrets the Souter comment. Wow. I'm not sure he said he regrets the feminazi comments or anything else like that, or the Marxist harpy wife. But the Souter, he's like, that was a bit much. Well, are you not merciful? All right, now, what's my thoughts on it? Look, I'm not buying his I thought it was private insane excuse. That's ridiculous. Of course it's not private. But I think CNN should hire him anyway. Okay, why? Look, does he accurately represent right-wingers? Yeah, pretty much. Okay? And he's a right-wing blogger. It was inconceivable that he didn't say something crazy. So if you try to hire someone else who's a right-wing blogger, you're going to find a lot more than this, okay? And on it goes. And but getting beyond that, I don't really care. I mean, I don't. CNN should hire right-wingers and they should hire left-wingers, and they say controversial things, so then they represent those two sides. I don't think that people on CNN are some God's gift to neutrality or something, or objectivity. It's not like he was hired by CNN, so I trust him. I mean, what do you mean you trust him? I don't. They should label him as a right winger, which he is, and then that's it. Yeah, Bill Bennett's a right winger. Pat Buchanan's a right winger on MSNBC, and I don't have a problem with that. And if the only problem I have, and I guarantee you this will happen, is that if they hired a left winger that had said 1/10 of this stuff, first of all, they wouldn't hire that person. They just wouldn't, right? And then second of all, if this news came out, CNN would be in an absolute panic and would instantly fire them. I might be exaggerating. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they'll hire a left-wing blogger who says really, really controversial things, and they'll be like, look, that's how we roll from now on. Okay, we're going to have interesting conversations from this side and that side, and we're going to find out who's right and wrong, and we're going to have debates, and we're going to trust the audience to understand that they don't represent CNN's position, that they represent their prospective sides. If they did that, I think that'd be great. My guess is they won't hire a left-wing blogger that has said anything like this, anything, even remotely. That if they hire a left-wing blogger at all, that it'll be someone who's considered quote-unquote mainstream enough. I could be wrong. I really could be. Look, Marcos Melissas was hired by Newsweek to write some columns, so it could be. And Marcos has never said anything crazy like this. And Marcos is a guy who, in my opinion, loves the Democratic Party and doesn't often criticize them, so that might work out. But they're not going to hire a flamethrower from the left side, and that's how we get the imbalance we do in the media. Because if you're a flamethrower on the right-hand side, that's totally fine, and if you're bland and in the middle, that's totally fine. If you're actually on the left side, get the hell out of here. I might be overstating it, but that's how I see this. All right, now we go to our usual crazy person, and that's Michelle Bachmann. Now, Michelle Bachmann and a lot of the other Republicans have been inciting the crowds that gather for Tea Party protests. Some of the congressmen, not Michelle Bachmann, but some of the other Republicans came out and they chanted and put up signs saying, "Kill the bill, kill the bill," with some, unfortunate imagery, and then putting up the a flag encouraging revolution. Okay, they're in the Congress and they're encouraging revolution. And then we've seen it over and over again. And Eric Cantor then came out, and John Boehner did too, saying, no, this is not the fault of the Republicans, as some of these protests got out of hand, and then there was bricks thrown through a couple of windows, and we've told you all about this before, the gas lines cut, fake anthrax sent to the congressmen, racial epithets thrown at them, one congressman was spit on. But all of this, apparently, according to Cantor and Boehner, were the Democrats' fault for passing such a bad bill. They had it coming. Now, Michelle Bachmann is going to add to that. Okay, she says it was Nancy Pelosi's fault for walking. Let's check it out.
Well, remember, President Obama brought his campaign manager back into the White House to sell this health care deal. And there's been a continuing mantra through the conclusion of trying to pass health care. Remember when Speaker Pelosi walked arm in arm in a civil rights march across Independence Avenue from the House buildings over to the Capitol? In 3 years, I have never seen Nancy Pelosi cross the street the way that you saw in that picture. They deliberately went through that crowd, perhaps to try and incite something. There were so many cameras there, Sean. No one recorded any racial motivation, and everything we've heard in the last week has had a racial tinge coming out of the Democrats' mouth, and there hasn't been any racial activity.
Okay, as usual, the second half of that is a total lie. People have apologized. Some have for calling the congressman racial epithets. And reporters were on the scene and absolutely positively heard it. So at the end, she just lies. Oh, well, you know, it wasn't on camera, so I guess it didn't happen. But the beginning part is what I love. I've never seen her cross the street like that before. Really? So she incited the crowd by walking across the street the wrong way. You didn't incite the crowd by saying things like this. This is a quote from Michelle Bachmann from earlier. I want people in Minnesota armed and dangerous on this issue of the energy tax because we need to fight back. Thomas Jefferson told us having a revolution every now and then is a good thing. But that didn't incite anybody. Nancy Pelosi walking across the street the wrong way, well, obviously that incited them. I mean, she says it with a straight face. I'd say it's unbelievable, except I've seen her do it 100 times. So at this point, it's believable. All right, and then finally on your crazy Republicans, Jack Cassell is a doctor in Florida. He's a urologist. He hung a sign on his office after health care reform passed. If you voted for Obama, seek urological care elsewhere. Changes to your health care begin right now, not in 4 years. Ha ha! He got you. He has since backpedaled, my guess is because a lot of patients left him. And then he's like, oopsie doopsie. And you know what got between him and his patients? His own dumb ass. Okay, none of the rules changed. It's not like he couldn't take the patients. It's not like he was going to pay less for the patients. None of that changed. He just kicked half his patients out. Then he's like, damn it, God, that was stupid. I forgot I'm a Republican because I love money. And those guys were money. He's like, backpedal. I mean, look. You know, I have the Hippocratic Oath, and so it says do no harm. And so, okay, I guess I'll treat Democrats. Are you not merciful? Are you not merciful? Well, Alan Grayson's also from Florida, and he said he was disgusted by Cassell's behavior, and then he gave this great quote. Maybe he thinks the Hippocratic Oath says do no good. If this is the face of the right wing in America, it's the face of cruelty. Why don't they just change the name of the Republican Party to the Sore Loser Party? So, as usual, Grayson goes on the offense and stays there. So, and my guess is that not a lot of his Democratic patients are going to come back to Dr. Cassell. They're probably going to find a new urologist. And then when we do a follow-up story on how he went bankrupt, that's going to be awesome. Hey, you know what, Dr. Cassell? That's that free market you love so much. Let's see how it works out for you. Young Turks. All right, back on the Young Turks. Casper's here. All right, two quick things before we get to all the stories. One, if you noticed at the beginning of that Green Zone clip that we played in the last segment, that was longtime TYT guest Paul Rykoff playing the soldier there. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of cool. I was like, oh, look, it's Rykoff. Except he was a little clunky in how he delivered the lines. I hate to do it to you, Paul, but soldier, that is enough now. Okay, all right, Paul. But I loved seeing him in the movie. That was cool. Uh-huh. All right, now, the other thing is, today's movie day. I mean, you know Friday's movie day anyway on the Young Turks. But this week, I also saw Where the Wild Things Are, okay, on DVD. And the reason we bring it up now is because this was a source of tremendous controversy at TYT earlier. Right. Anna saw it, hated it, mm-hmm. And then some of our listeners were up in arms.
Right. Yes.
Okay, because they loved it, right? Mm-hmm. And what did Ben say? Did he like it or no?
I wasn't paying attention. I don't know.
Okay. So I'm supposed to settle this, right? And I was supposed to have done this a long time ago, but finally I got a chance to do it this week. Saw it, and I think it was a really smart movie. And I think Spike Jonze is a great director, and I can't wait to see.
Okay, everyone says it's a smart movie. Please explain to me how that movie was smart. What was smart about it? And don't give me any artistic bullshit. Tell me what you think.
All right. No, I can't. Well, I can't do that.
It was so deep, and then we got to see inside the soul of a 9-year-old boy. And
okay, just be cool.
Tell me what you think.
Just look, I love symbolism, and what was smart about it is those different monsters were apparently the different sides of the boy, Max. Okay? So they would act out in different ways of his different parts of his personality. That's kind of cool. That's kind of smart.
Okay.
Now, but if you let me finish, I hated it.
Oh, why? Why did you hate it?
Because, you know, as sometimes a movie's smart, kind of like Snorberg that we reviewed earlier, but just doesn't deliver anyway. Like it's boring or it's weird or whatever. And yeah, I like the symbolism. It was smart, good, all right. But you know what? I hated watching it. The monsters, where the wild things are, and start the rumpus, and the kid's annoying, and the monsters are annoying, and
yes, I knew that's how you would feel about the movie in the long run, like in the end. I knew that's what you would say, because that's the feeling I got throughout the movie. I was bored, I was annoyed with the kid, and I just couldn't wait for it to end. And when it finally did end, it ended on an annoying note, where the kid comes home and the mother just like pats him on the back and says, "Good job at being an annoying kid that doesn't listen to your mother, and good job for scaring the crap out of me by running away."
No, I can't have it. I can't have it, man. This week I got a little burned out on movies. I mean, with Where the Wild Things Are and Boringburg right next to one another. Oh, by the end, I'm like, oh God, when are these movies going to stop? Jesus. And that's exactly how you're feeling now about our movie reviews today. So let's end it and move forward.
Yes, and let's start by talking about True Blood actress Anna Paquin. She decided to reveal her sexual orientation in a PSA for Cyndi Lauper's Give a Damn campaign. All right, we have the video for you guys. This has been the topic of tremendous controversy. All right, in fact, wegiveadamn.org, which is the website that has this video, crashed. The servers crashed because so many people went onto the website to watch this video.
All right, I can't wait. I'm in suspense. I don't know what her sexuality is. I can't wait to find out. Let's do it. I'm still in suspense. And apparently I'm going to stay in suspense. Oh, God. Oh, yeah. You know, look, I was worried this was going to happen. It didn't play on my computer either.
It played on mine.
Wang. You
know what? I know that it's on YouTube, though. Why don't you check it out on YouTube?
Okay. You want to try it one more time, Jesus, or just give up? I can't see him. Hold.
I'm straight.
I'm gay.
I'm bisexual. And I give a damn about equality.
Want to know why?
Because one hate crime is committed approximately every hour of every day in this country.
Imagine walking down the street and wondering if this is the day you'll get beaten up or even killed simply because of who you are.
Because many gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender teens who come out to their parents are thrown out of their homes.
Imagine confiding in the people you trust most, only to be rejected and tossed out with no place to go.
These are just a few of the reasons why we care about equality.
It is time for things to change.
We all have to get involved.
We all have to give a damn.
I give a damn.
Do you?
Join us at wegiveadamn.org to learn more.
Oh my God, she's bisexual. That's super hot. The only thing better than a lesbian is a bisexual, because then you're in the ballgame. Okay, I don't really care about Anna Paquin, but you know, look, and I don't think she's super hot, and that's not relevant. Okay, I know you're shocked by that, but my sexual attraction to Anna Paquin was not part of this campaign. Anyway, look, it's a little bold to come out in that way, I guess. But she's married, right, now, or engaged?
She is engaged. She's engaged. She got engaged back in August of 2009 to her True Blood co-star, Stephen Moyer.
Okay, so Stephen Moyer, I mean...
Cha-ching.
Totally. He's like, oh, fantastic. Who are we, bringing in to have a little bit of fun? Because it's a win-win, right? I don't know if that's how it plays out, though.
You're making the assumption that bisexuals are, like, into threesomes or something. Like...
Well, why wouldn't you be? I mean, everybody wins. I mean, like, you're wasting your bisexuality if you're not doing that. See what I'm saying?
That's like saying, okay, I'm heterosexual and I like men, so I'm into threesomes because I'd like to have 2 men instead of 1. Like, I'm not into threesomes.
Okay, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of potential there that's going to waste. It's like a good offshore oil drilling and you don't tap it. Which, crazy. Bizarre analogy.
So bizarre.
All right, anyway, look. It's a good thing that she's coming out. The more people that come out, the more normal it is, where people go, okay, I got it.
I can't
everybody's
wait.
gay, everybody's bisexual. Let's just get beyond it, okay?
I can't wait till we get to that point. Because look, this story came out April 1st, right?
Uh-huh.
And I saw it April 1st, I saw it April 2nd, and I didn't include it in the rundown because I don't care.
Uh-huh.
Like, it's not a big deal to me. Oh, she's bisexual. Cool. Who cares? I can't wait for society to have that same reaction to it. We're still at that point where coming out is a spectacle. It doesn't need to be a spectacle. Okay.
Don't make a spectacle out of it, okay? But no, look, she did it as part of a smart campaign, so that's good, and you're right. But you know what the other thing is, though, Anna? We're getting pretty close to that time.
I can't wait.
You know, because I think everybody thinks, like, news is news. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, Liberace's gay. I didn't see that coming. I mean, and besides, it's Hollywood. Aren't they all gay? Mm-hmm. I'm just playing. Calm down. Bring it down. Okay. All right. Well, speaking of Hollywood.
Yes. Charlie Sheen.
Hold up. My bad. What? I mean, I know we had trouble with it, but Kim Kardashian had one too, right?
Yeah, Kim Kardashian is also in one of these We Give a Damn campaigns. So
is she, though?
Why don't we watch the video and find out?
All right, let's see.
I'm straight.
I'm gay.
And I give a damn about equality.
Want to know why? Because you can be fired in over half the states in this country for being gay or transgender.
Imagine going to work every day and not being able to share your life with your coworkers out of fear of being let go.
Gay, lesbian, bisexual, and transgender youth are nearly 4 times more likely to attempt suicide than their straight peers.
Imagine if the only way you thought you could rid yourself of the hurt and pain of feeling alone and rejected is to end your life.
These are just a few of the reasons why we care about equality.
It's time for things to change.
I love
We all have to get involved.
We all have to give a damn. We give a damn. To you.
Can I just say something about Wanda Sykes? Everyone is like, you know, very low-key, like, did you know that homosexuals are more likely to, you know, commit suicide? And then all of a sudden Wanda Sykes is like, do you give a damn? You better give a damn. Like,
I'll tell you what. Okay. Anyway, meanwhile, Kim Kardashian's talking about, like, life and death, and I'm like, oh, how you doing?
I know. That's exactly what I was thinking. Like, she's talking about something serious, and Jake is not listening to any of it.
Although she had too much makeup on.
Oh my God, I'm proud of you, Jake, for saying that.
Okay. She was a little Jamie Grubsy.
She's always Jamie Grubsy. She's always put too much makeup on. That's part of the reason why some people aren't that into her. Like, I think she's gorgeous when she wears really light makeup. Because she has a beautiful face, white covered up and all that gunk.
Yeah, man. They went really heavy on that. So anyway, what do we think? Is she bisexual too or something? Is that what she's trying to say?
Maybe after the whole Reggie Bush situation, she's so heartbroken that she's decided to
go
become lesbian. Because you can become lesbian, right?
Think about it, Kim. Well, I'm not saying anything. I'm just, you know, word of the wise. Okay, enough of my goofiness. What's next?
All right, in other news today, Charlie Sheen gets paid way too much money.
That's the news.
That's the news. No. It's amazing. Okay, so 2.5 Men, the show that he stars in, has been picked up for another 2 seasons on CBS. And right now, Charlie Sheen is negotiating how much money he will get paid per episode, right? Right now, he's getting paid $825,000 per episode. He's asking for $1.5 million.
$1.5 million.
And Warner Brothers is offering him around $1 million.
Right. And people are saying, look, keep it real. What's going to happen? They're not going to do the show, and everybody's going to lose all that money? That's crazy. On the other hand, what, Charlie Sheen's not going to do the show, and he's going to skip out on what would be, if he got paid $1 million an episode, it would be a $48 million contract. $48 million. So of course he's going to say yes at some point, but it's going to be annoying. They're going to, and then of course his market value is down because might be in frickin' jail when they start shooting, right? And he's got the rehab, he's got nonsense. Where else is he going to get $48 million? Right. But they're going to bring it down all the way to the wire, and on the last day, everybody's playing chicken. Are we going to crash it or we're not going to crash it? And then we're going to see what happens. Just look, Charlie, $48 million is enough. Just take the $1 million and shut up.
What amazes me is like, okay, it's like him asking for a raise, right? And it's such a ballsy move, like to me, to go up to someone and say, okay, I want an additional $600,000 or more than that for my for each episode that I do. And then I think about, you know, my position and like what I would say to you if I wanted a raise. I would come to you and say, Jank, do you think I could get an extra like $5? Like, it would be so different.
And this is what I would say.
Hell no, you can't!
Look, the other great thing about this is that he's like, look, I'm on drugs. I'm an alcoholic. You know, I might have abused my wife. And I might be in jail when filming starts. Can I get a $600,000 per episode raise?
Right, exactly. It's amazing.
Okay, but you know what? That's the thing about money, man. They're making money.
As soon as
and the show's working, you can do any damn thing you like, man. You want crack? How do I help you out on that? As long as you show up on set and do what you were doing.
Well, I'm making some money, and I think I'm making the show happen. So
Oh, totally.
$5 raise.
You want me to do it again? Okay, all right. Go ahead, Jay.
This, maybe, you know, this is where people who get caught up in scandals or drug problems and all this stuff should get some kind of advice from. Charlie Sheen, as you said, this litany of problems he's got upcoming and had in the past. Who cares? I'm still working, pay me. Why is Tiger Woods apologizing? Why is Tiger Woods going to rehab? Yeah, just keep going and act like, yeah, okay, that's what I do. Okay, yeah, it's an issue for some people that they should have an issue with, but pay me. I mean, come on, I'm still the best. Who cares?
That's a really interesting
Why is he the only one who knows this?
Yeah.
So if I were to come into work, right, and you can tell that I did some coke in the bathroom, but I'm doing the show fine, like the show is going well, would you be worried about it? As long as I'm doing my job, would it matter?
Yeah, I mean, look, I would care because we're all in this together. I'd care about you, right? But if you're doing the job well, I mean, I wouldn't care about you being on air or whatever. But, you know, since we're such a tight group, you know, I'd care about you. But no, I ultimately, let's put it this way, okay? Let's say we have a lawyer, which we don't, and she or he does crack on the side, okay, but writes the contracts perfectly well. I couldn't care less. Why would I care? Unless it affected her work, in which case I care a lot.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, yeah, I mean, and look, I don't blame Sheen. Sheen's just trying to get some, you know, and he's in a position to get some, and he's trying to get as much as possible, and that's the way the world works. No problem with that. So, it is what it is. All right, I'm ready to go forward.
All right, I have a story about Javon Walker. He was the former wide receiver for the Raiders. All right, in fact, the Raiders paid him a $55 million contract, and it turned out that he sucked, right?
That's definitely true.
So now he just recently did an interview, and he's claiming that he offered to give the $55 million back to the Raiders, and they said, no, keep the money.
Yeah, this story's got bullshit written all over it. Yeah, I mean, come on. He really offered, what did he do? Write out a check to the Raiders for $55 million and said, here you go, and then they ripped it up? No, he said it in, my guess is, he said it in passing, like, if you want, I can give the money back, I feel so bad. And they're like, we wish you would, but there's no way. Like, if they had said, the Raiders were like, oh, okay, done, deal, we'll take it. You think Javon would have walked home and written the check and given it back to them? I think Ed Reed has something to say about that.
Hell no!
No way he would have done that. It wasn't a real offer, and now he's trying to make himself feel better by saying that, and then he dumps on the Raiders.
Right, and he played for the Raiders for 3 years, right?
It's been so long since Javon Walker was any good, and he went into the black hole, literally, of the Raiders. I don't know how long it lasted, man, and he went into a time-space continuum warp, and it feels like 30 years since Javon Walker was good. So, yeah, I guess 3 years with the Raiders.
Okay, but I mean, he at least was playing with the Raiders for a certain amount of years, right?
No, he wasn't. He sucked so bad, he never really made it onto the field. Like, he'd come on for a snap, he'd run and break his ankle, and they'd take him out. He'd run and, I don't know, get lost, and he'd wind up in, you know, in the middle of Oakland, and they'd be like, Javon, come back.
That's really
He's
funny.
the clown that got his ass beat in Vegas, partying one night, because he had all these chains on him, and so he went out, and they beat his ass and took his chains.
Oh, my God.
I mean, well, he's interested in giving back, apparently. I mean, he gave back his chains.
You know what, though? He tries to kind of make excuses for himself and place the blame on the Raiders for his failure, right? And he says, like, when I was in Denver, I performed. When I was in Green Bay, I performed. So now that I'm in Oakland, I can't perform? Like, all of a sudden, my talents were just taken away from me?
Yeah. I mean, look at what he does. On the one hand, he says about the Raiders, oh, they're so good, they wouldn't take the money back, right? Because he gave him credit on that. On the other hand, he says, oh, but they suck so much that they made me suck. Now, look, anybody who follows football knows there's an element of truth in that. Okay, Oakland is where football careers go to die. And so that's why you hear Donovan McNabb might go to the Raiders, and if you like McNabb, you're like, no, don't get sucked into the black hole. And Al Davis overplays these older players, etc. So it's a combination. The Raiders suck as an organization, and so they hurt a lot of people's careers. But it's also because those players sucked, and they overpay for shitty players at the end of their careers. So Javon has no excuses. I mean, what? Al Davis tripped you while you were running your pattern? No. Okay. It's definitely a combo, but he's got to take personal responsibility. It's 80% on Javon Walker. Okay. And Javon, if you don't really want the money, you can give it back to us. We'll take it. Can you imagine he made that offer to us? He's like, well, I could give back the money. Yeah, done. Come on, give it to me. Give it to me. Hurry up. Okay. Like that ad we played that Republican National Committee was sending people to accidentally yesterday. It's a phone sex line. And when she gets to the part about the credit card, she's like, go ahead, stick it in. I'd be like, you got your credit card, Javon? Go ahead, stick it in. All right. Anyway, we got more fun news stories related to sports and sex, of course. And we'll do that when we come back.